Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Eye on the Money of 2021, the television show that gives you insights into how to improve your financial well-being as well as make your money work for you. I'm Ingrid Nantege. On today's show, we discuss how to reinvent your business after the economic shift. Now that we're several months into the pandemic, it's become fairly clear that things aren't going back to pre-COVID business as usual. So much has changed and enough time has passed that most businesses have started figuring out how to adapt to this new reality. Fashion brands have designed new lines of face masks. Alcohol companies have temporarily shifted to producing hand sanitizer. Restaurants are getting innovative by providing experiences for curbside pickups, shifting to artisanal grocery delivery, and creating locally sourced meal kits. Theater productions are being live streamed. Even independent bookstores are innovating with virtual bookshop crawls, creating reading bundles, and delivering books to your door via whatever means. With so many new choices and experiences, will consumers really go back to being satisfied with the status quo? These innovations have opened up all sorts of new opportunities for brands, and brands have been able to adapt. Joining me on the show to discuss how to reinvent your business after the economic shift is Shiba Njagi, the head of training and communications and customer experience at Centonomy. Thank you very much for joining us today on the show, Shiba.
Hi Ingrid. Thank you for having me. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Now, Shiba, I feel like we're discussing a topic that's very, very, first of all, vital at a time like this. And also, as we start off the new year, I feel like it's going to really, really get our minds thinking, especially if we're entrepreneurs or even thinking about getting into business. Now, before we get into the topic of reinventing ourselves, just give us an overview just to set the stage on the sort of impact the pandemic had on businesses and really basically how they operate.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ingrid. Indeed, it's still a real conversation because right now this is when very many business owners and businesses are trying to really get back to their feet. So when the pandemic struck, there are certain obvious changes that happened to existing businesses during that time. And examples of some of these changes include business owners at the moment or during that whole year to date now have limited cash. Quite a number of business owners now have limited cash. Yeah, supply chains at the moment are missing a link. I was speaking to one of our entrepreneurs, and she was just talking about she used to run a juice bar, and one of the challenges that happened to her was now the farms where she used to source fresh fruit all of a sudden after a while just stopped delivering. So supply chains have now ended up having a missing link. Employees right now are eager but are also scared. If you remember, some of the things that happened to employees is some of them lost their jobs. Others had to undergo reduction of their pays. Others had to shift how they were working. So at the moment now, employees are eager but they're scared. Also, another thing that is so obvious that has happened since Corona struck, consumer confidence for various products and services have gone lower. And now there's more focus on essential products and services. What I mean is it's easier for you now, Ingrid, to focus more on what you really need, and the confidence for other luxurious products are not that high. And another effect that happened is also consumer habits have shifted to now buying things online, embracing doing things online. I'm in a group where some ladies were just talking about, oh my God, this online phenomenon has changed the way I live. We are learning online, buying online, working out online, everything is online. So those are some of the things that have changed since the pandemic struck.
Right. Shiba, now to get to our topic of the day is how to reinvent your business even amidst all the change, the economic shift. When we talk about reinventing a business, just for someone who's maybe coming across this concept for the first time, what exactly are we talking about? Is it a total overhaul of the entire business? Just help us, first of all, even understand what this means.
what reinventing really means, for some business owners, it's a total overhaul. For other business owners, is certain aspects of their businesses are going to change or have changed. So what reinvention really means for business owners is looking at how your business has what your business has undergone for the last year or a certain period of time, and seeing, are there any changes that we need to make, or do we need to adapt to anything new at this moment? And this, Ingrid, it does not only apply to businesses that have undergone a pandemic. This is a concept that all business owners need to understand going forward, even post the pandemic, where you're always thinking about your business from a point of what else can we do to improve what we are doing, to change what we are doing. So that is what reinventing really means. And for some businesses, as we mentioned in the introduction, there are some that have had to completely change. And there are those that it's certain elements of the businesses that are changing. And there are some others that, even during the pandemic, they did even better than any they have ever done. But even for them, they still need to think about reinvention and what they need to do as they go ahead.
Right. So Shiba, you mentioned it yourself that, when it comes to reinvention, you don't always have to wait for a pandemic. We've seen businesses who either way have done well during the pandemic, but still they might need to reinvent themselves. So then as a business owner, at what point do I come to the realization that it's time to reinvent? What are some of the telltale signs? And how does someone then come to the point that, okay, it's now time?
Great. I like that question because it's twofold, right? So number one, if your business was very successful even during the pandemic and your incomes and revenues were doing well, your employees were very happy because things were good and things were going on well, actually the thought of reinvention for your business starts, you need to think about them even when your business is at a level of success. Right? Because one thing we've been taught by the pandemic and even life in general, everything changes. So if you're a business owner and you're watching this show right now, if you experience success, it's also time for you to sit down and think, what are the areas, or, for example, what sort of problems can we start thinking about that we could experience, or changes that we could experience that we can start coming up with solutions for right now, even when we are happy. Number two, there's a different business owner who was really affected by the pandemic. Your revenues did not come through, you barely sold anything. We have millions, quite thousands, hundreds of thousands of companies that had to close down, businesses that had to close down. That's a sign for you as a business owner that you need to rethink what you need to do with your business. So that's how I would look at it twofold, for the successful and even for those that got a beating due to the pandemic. Yeah.
Right. Still in line with that, and just to lend a bit of clarity, when we talk about the process, because you've said even if you're at a point where your business is achieving a lot of success, you're doing well, you need to still find those areas that maybe might evoke change and see how to reinvent around that. So when it comes to the process of reinvention, ideally what should be the focus, or what should be the driving force? Should it be finances? Should it be the product you're putting out there? Should it be the customer? As someone who's thinking of reinventing, what should be top of mind and what should the process look like?
Great. I like that. So let's talk about the process and how you're supposed to start thinking about this thing. The first thing you need to do is what we call at the Centennial Entrepreneur Program, deconstruction, deconstructing your business. Whether you're happy or not happy about your business, if you are now thinking about reinvention, it's time for you to start breaking down the key aspects of your business and starting to explore each element on its own. So, Ingrid, I'd like to introduce or share a key tool that every business owner listening to us today needs to consider, and it's called the business model canvas. You can go and Google it, and you will find it's a really perfect tool that helps you in the process of deconstructing each part of your business. So you talked about, should it be finances, should it be marketing, should it be customers. So what that tool does, and it's a tool usually used as a general entrepreneur, and also very many top business schools also teach that to their business owners. And the idea is for you to go and break down each, there are 9 segments. You go and break down each of these segments. You start with your customers, you go into revenue, you go in your cost, you go into value proposition, who are your key partners, the key activities. So it helps you to break down and see your business, how it's been doing and what you would like it to do. And that's a pretty good tool that you should start with. And that's the first part of the process that is called deconstruction. Then the second part of the process, after you've broken down each of these segments, after you've asked yourself, so in the last year, how are we dealing with our customers? In our last year, how are the financials? What were the calls? What are the lessons learned when we focused, when we were looking at the partners that we worked with? Then we go into a place or the next step called imagination. And this is where I'm talking about, when you're talking about reinvention, Ingrid, there is that word called invention. Right. So invention, if we remember any person you remember who is an inventor, it means they had to spend some time to think and imagine. So what this part of the process requires the business owner to do is to sit down and pen a list of all alternatives, all different ways you can, focus. For example, if we are focusing on customers, what other alternatives or customer relationship, what other alternatives exist for us to engage with our customers? There is what we used to do, but this year, what can we do? There is a segment in the model, in the tool that is called revenues, where you're thinking about how to make money. So in the part for imagination, now you're starting to ask yourself, what other ways can we bring revenue into the business? So that is a second part of the process. Should I continue with the third, Ingrid?
Please continue with the third. We'd like to get through it all.
Great. So the third part of the process is what we call testing. Ingrid, you see what is happening when, every time you're sitting down and you're coming up with ideas, you also want to make sure that the people who will be buying your products in the future or your services, what do they think about the ideas that you have? So the testing part of this, or the testing part of this process enables you to go and speak to your friends, speak to your families, speak to the customers you've ever served, and tell them, you know what, I have in my earring business, for example, this is what I'm thinking about doing on Instagram and Facebook this year. Is it something you think would work? What do you think about it? And then you start getting feedback from your clients and from your people. And this is feedback that could be helpful for you and your business. Yeah. And then finally, the last one, after you've tested, after you've heard from your friends, from your family, that's when we say, create a simple product or service that you can offer to a new customer. I'd like to give an example with a company you just gave an example with a little bit earlier. You said, there are so many paint companies that manufacture paint, that during the pandemic, they had to shift their focus from primarily making paint to starting to make hand sanitizers. You remember that?
Yes.
So one of the key things they need to do this year, or they even did during that time as they were reinventing and thinking how else can we make money, is to create small samples and start sharing it with potential buyers so that they can start seeing what will the market say about our product. So it's the same thing for you and I if we are thinking about business. based on the ideas that you've received,
Right.
can you sit down and create a simple version of your product before you go to spend a lot of money? A simple version of your service that you can now start advertising so that people can start experiencing it and you can start getting feedback for it. Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant,
Those are
Shiba. Sorry, did I interrupt you?
no, I was saying those are the 4 key steps for reinvention.
And they've been actually very, very helpful. We're going to take a very short break and we'll be back with so much more when it comes to reinventing your business, particularly in this new year, so don't go anywhere. However, you can also be a part of the conversation by sending your feedback to our social media handles at Metropole TV KE on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Don't go anywhere.